What's up, everybody? In today's video, I am going to be talking about a question that I often get asked either on the internet or by my clients, and that is, how do I become less reactive in certain situations, especially if you're somebody that's dealing with chronic anxiety and anger, and that can feel super challenging. So let's get to it. So each and every time somebody has a super anxious or angry reaction toward something that is happening outside of themselves, usually a lot of feelings come with that. The guilt, the shame, the blame, and then it becomes a spiraling downward hill roller coaster type feeling. And that absolutely makes sense because for most of us, growing up, if we had any type of anxious or angry reaction to something, the external stimuli told us that that was something to be shamed about, that was something to feel guilty about. And so the perpetual cycle of those feelings just continued. Now, this is most definitely not about blaming, any caregivers from the past. It is just recognizing what has occurred and what patterns have been created because of it. That is now our own stuff, and it's our job to move through it and move beyond it. People always do their best with what they know. So now that we know better, we can shift things. When those types of feelings become chronic because of anxious or angry feelings that we have, that starts to build up in your nervous system. Your fight or flight response becomes turned on overdrive. So when your nervous system is constantly on the lookout for making sure that you're not reacting a certain way, it starts to build up. And do you ever notice that those types of reactions don't go away? And that's because we have not been given the grace throughout our lives to feel certain feelings, to feel anxious about something, to feel upset about something or angry about something. The more we end up having to suppress that, the more it builds up. But of course, for most of us, the ultimate goal is to be able to have anything come at us and for us to be like, whatever. But we are human beings living a human experience. And my greatest desire is for people to understand that feelings happen. Yes, they're going to happen at times. However, knowing that we have the powerful ability to move through them and to release them fully and let them go, then helps that cycle heal faster of reactiveness. When you're in a situation where you've reacted, and what's the immediate thought that comes to your brain? Ah, crap, I shouldn't have done that, right? There's the guilt, there's the shame. So, what if you had a reaction and you said, well, that happened. I can't change what just happened. However, I can recognize right now that I'm feeling a certain way. And just because I am feeling this way doesn't mean that I am bad. I love myself. And I give myself grace to move through this. And when we can do that, it starts to break the cycle of reactiveness. The thing that we need to start doing is to start practicing when we're not in a potentially triggering scenario. Becoming more aware of your feelings in any given moment. When you are aware of a certain feeling that maybe isn't a certain way that you would want to be feeling in that moment, accepting that it is there and continuing to love yourself, speak to yourself kindly, even though it is there. I love you even though you are feeling this way right now. Because it releases the conditions, right? And so how we practice outside of those types of scenarios is by bringing your awareness to things that are in your surroundings. Very simple things. Because this rewires your nervous system and your mind when you're in those situations to not immediately go into fight or flight response. It gives you the ability to, in those moments, be aware and be conscious. Very simple things like noticing the way that the leaves are moving on the trees outside, listening to a clock ticking, hearing the air conditioner or the heating system around you, placing your feet firmly flat on the floor, feeling your feet, touching all of your fingertips and focusing the feeling of the touching that is happening just right between your fingertips. And you might have noticed when I started doing that, my forehead dropped. All of the muscles in the face just start to relax. And I was able to take a deep breath. When all else fails, coming back to your breath. And sometimes that can feel really challenging, going inward, bringing the awareness inward. Because when we are overstimulated and our nervous systems are on overdrive, we often don't want to go inward. We don't want to think our own thoughts. We don't want to feel what's going on inside of our own bodies because we are in so much pain, emotionally or physically. But when we can bring our focus outside of ourselves onto something just very mundane, very simple, doesn't bring that fast-paced, energetic speed that we are all on. We are pretty much on consistent fight or flight response with our daily schedules. It brings regulation when we can focus on something very simple. So, if you are in that type of situation and you are struggling not to react. In those types of situations, the first thing being shifting the mind from the shame, blame, guilt to I am feeling this feeling right now. And I love myself, no matter what. And then practicing outside of those types of situations, just on a regular basis. Because practice makes permanence. So that is why I have clients listen to recordings for several weeks and beyond, if they so choose, because it helps to continuously rewire those brain synapses and keep them there. Because again, when you do something over and over, it becomes muscle memory. And that's the same with anything in your body, your brain, thoughts. What we focus on, we get more of, right? So the more we think about certain things, we will continuously get more of that. So if you continuously think that you are going to react a certain way in a certain situation, you will continue to get more of that. So continuing to practice believing in yourself and knowing that you are going to work toward reacting a certain way, but if you don't, giving yourself that love and the grace. Because when we can give ourselves that love and that grace, then again, the cycle will not perpetuate. You will shift into a different paradigm for yourself. So, I hope this was incredibly helpful for you, thinking about those two different elements going into a situation where you're worried about reacting. And I am sending you so much love, so much light, and so much peace.